The auditorium lights dimmed, and the chatter of parents and grandparents quieted into a hush. Claire sat in the second row, her hands folded tightly in her lap, heart pounding for reasons that had nothing to do with the third-grade play about to begin. She wasn't nervous about her son, Ethan. He was playing a trio, quiet, sturdy, dependable, just like he had been since the day he was born. When she found herself raising him alone after Michaela, the man she loved, the man who once promised forever, walked out of her life, everyone in town still remembered it. Michael wasn't just any man. He was the millionaire tech entrepreneur who had swooped into their small community with bright eyes, big ideas, and a smile that seemed to hold galaxies. And just as quickly, he was gone. People whispered about him in grocery store aisles, at coffee shops. He left her, they'd say, took off without a word. But they didn't know the truth. Michael hadn't abandoned her for someone else, or because he didn't love her. He had left when his company was crumbling, drowning in lawsuits, investors pulling out. He didn't want to drag Claire and their newborn through the storm. "I'll only hurt you if I stay," he had told her the night he disappeared, his voice breaking. And then nothing. No calls, no letters, just silence. That was 8 years ago. Now, sitting in the school auditorium, Claire pushed the thought away. She smoothed her son's costume earlier with trembling hands and kissed his cheek, telling him how proud she was. He beamed up at her, not knowing that she carried a quiet take every day, the ache of doing it all alone, of wondering if she had been foolish to love a man who chose distance over family. The curtain opened. The children began their lines, their voices sweet and unsure. Claire leaned forward, smiling through tears. Ethan stood tall as the tree, swaying a little too enthusiastically. Laughter rippled through the crowd, and then as she felt it, a presence. From the corner of her eye, she saw someone slip into the empty seat beside her. She stiffened, breath caught. Slowly, she turned. It was him. Michael, older now, with silver at his temples and lines etched into his once boyish face, but still undeniably him. His eyes had the same piercing blue that once made her feel like she was the only woman in the world, and were locked on the stage. Claire's heart slammed in her chest. Words tangled in her throat. What do you say to the man who left you to raise his child alone? But before she could speak, Ethan spotted him. From the stage, their son's face lit up, his eyes widened in recognition, and in that single look, Claire realized something staggering. Ethan knew. He had seen pictures, heard her carefully chosen words about the father who loved him but couldn't be here. "Dad," Ethan blurted out, forgetting his line. The audience chuckled, assuming it was part of the play. But Claire's world tilted. Michael smiled, tears brimming, and lifted a hand in the smallest, most fragile wave. The play went on, but Claire barely noticed. Every second felt heavy, filled with the questions she had carried for years. Why now? Why come back? And what could he possibly say to make it right? When the play ended, applause thundered. Parents rushed to the stage to gather their children. Ethan bounded toward them, throwing himself into Michael's arms as if no time had passed at all. Claire stood frozen, her hands trembling, her heart a battlefield of anger and longing. "I never stopped loving him," Michael said suddenly, his voice rough, looking at Ethan and then at her. "And I never stopped loving you." Claire's breath hitched. She wanted to scream at him, to demand why he thought he could just walk back into their lives. But then Ethan, their sweet boy, wrapped one small hand around each of theirs, linking them together. And in that moment, all Claire felt was the weight of her son's hope. The auditorium emptied. Families left in happy clusters. Claire, Michael, and Ethan lingered in the quiet, standing in the aisle under the glow of dim lights. Michael turned to her, his voice shaking. "I built it back, the company, the money, it all came back, but it meant nothing without you. I stayed away because I thought I was protecting you, but all I did was break us. And if you can forgive me, broken bar." He leaned closer, his hand trembling as he reached for hers. "A broken bar, marry me." The world seemed to stop. Claire's eyes flooded. She thought of the years of loneliness, of watching Ethan blow out birthday candles with just one parent by his side, of holding everything together when her heart felt like it was falling apart. She should say a number. Logic screamed it. But when she looked at her son's face glowing with joy, his small hands clinging desperately to theirs as she knew this wasn't just her decision, it was theirs. Her voice broke as she whispered, yes. The word was fragile, tentative, but it was enough. Michael pulled her into his arms, holding her like he would never let go again. Ethan giggled, hugging them both so tightly it almost hurt. And for the first time in nearly a decade, Clara let herself believe in forever again. The auditorium doors opened, and the night air rushed in, cool and sweet. Families walked out into the world together, and so did Alia, hand in hand, no longer broken, but whole. Because sometimes, love doesn't end, it waits, and when it returns, the night air outside the school smelled of autumn leaves and fresh rain. Claire walked between Michael and Ethan, her heart racing in a rhythm she hadn't felt in years. Ethan skipped ahead, still buzzing with the excitement of the play and of his father's sudden return. Michael kept stealing glances at her, as though afraid she might vanish if he blinked too long. Finally, he broke the silence. Claire, he said softly, I don't expect you to trust me right away. I know I don't deserve an easy forgiveness, but please give me a chance to prove that I'm not the man who walked away. Not anymore. Claire's throat tightened. Do you know how many nights I sat by the window, wondering if you'd ever come back? How many times Ethan asked me why he only had one parent? Michael's steps faltered. His shoulders slumped as if the weight of all those lost years had finally landed on him. I know, he whispered. I heard every question in my head, every single day. It's what drove me to rebuild, and not for me, but for us. I didn't want to come back empty-handed, Claire. But in the process, I realized the money never mattered. You did. He did. Claire wanted to stay angry, to keep her guard up, but when she looked at Ethana running circles in the school parking lot, laughing with a joy that hadn't been this pure in so long, her heart softened. The three of them drove home together for the first time in years. Ethan insisted Michael sit beside him in the back seat, as if afraid his father might disappear if he wasn't holding his hand. When they arrived, Ethan proudly showed Michael his room, the walls covered in space posters, Lego towers half built on the carpet, and a framed drawing of a family, a mom, a boy, and a man with brown hair. Michael touched the drawing with shaking fingers. You always kept me here, he said, looking at Ethan. Ethan grinned. I knew you'd come back. That night, after Ethan finally fell asleep, Clara stood on the porch with Michael. The stars glimmered overhead, quiet and eternal. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, Claire admitted, her voice low. I don't know if I can just forget the pain. But I do know one thing, Ethan deserves to have his father. And maybe maybe I still deserve to have you. Michael took her hands in his. Then let me spend every day proving I deserve you both. No more running, no more silence, just us. And for the first time in years, Claire believed him. She leaned against his shoulder, letting the silence between them speak louder than words. The past was broken, but the future, they could build it together, stronger this time. Inside, their son slept peacefully, a smile still lingering on his face. And outside, under the wide, forgiving sky, Claire allowed herself to feel something she thought she had lost forever, a hope. The words we least expect at the moment we need them most.